gorilla stomping in a zoo. Check the vocals, animal, let's get it right. Boom.
Hey everybody, and welcome back for another video. As you've probably seen by the title of this video so far, we're going to be dealing with pot lights today. And this is a project which has been well overdue. And by overdue, I mean over 7 years, because that's how long we've been in this house. So during the build of this house, the social norm, the social hype, we'll say, was open concepts with lots of pot lights. All right, pot lights was your main source of illumination for your main areas, especially, like I say, with an open concept. So we kind of half bought into that idea. In other areas, I have light fixtures, normal light fixtures, but in our living room in particular and our dining room, we have pot lights. Unfortunately, that's a decision we've come to regret. But there's some renewed hope. So the problem with the pot lights we've found is that the quality of pot lights that we bought back in the 2012-2013 range time frame weren't really of high quality. You know, just kind of your over-the-shelf Home Depot box of 20 lights or 10 lights, whatever it was at the time. It was what we got, it's what we had installed, and it's what we've made do with up to this point. But it's definitely been a problem for us, and it's a lighting problem. The quality of light from the pot lights we have is so poor that we kind of avoid taking pictures in the living room area. We avoid anything to do with filming, but in general it's just an uncomfortable light that we've been experiencing in our living room. And basically you would match it up to being like flashlights. Alright, we have 6 pot lights in our living room area, and it's just like having 6 flashlights shining down on top of your head. And I'm just going to give you an example of exactly what that looks like. Alright, so right now I'm standing in between 2 pot lights. The lighting is pretty good, especially with my shiny head. It's not really much issue going on with the pot lights. But if I take a little step to the side, as you can see, it's just like someone shining a flashlight down on top of my head. And if you're trying to take a nice picture during Christmas time or any other family gathering, the shiny tops of people's heads becomes a problem real fast, especially when you're trying to dial in a nice picture and nice lighting. Right, so same thing, right? Shadows around the eyes, shadow under the nose, shadow under lips. It's just like a flashlight coming down on top of my head. So our idea and our initial plan was to take all the pot lights out of the ceiling, get the holes covered over, relocate some wiring, put in an octagon box, and put a chandelier in our living room. That idea may still be viable, but I'm hoping that today's video is going to end up saving us all that trouble. And I'm going to show you exactly what I have to hopefully remedy this problem. Let's get to it. What I have here is hopefully my saving grace for today and the days to follow. All right, I'm hoping that this right here is going to be the solution I need to avoid having to get all kinds of drywall and plaster work done on our ceilings when we have to swap out for a chandelier. Alright, so what I have is an Amazon purchase, one of the top results when I search for pot lights on Amazon, and they're INCARLED LED recessed slim ceiling lights, 4-inch housing, 9 watts, 750 lumens, and this is a 12-pack, Energy Star compliant, 5-year warranty, dimmable, and whatever this certification here is. Alright, and it consists of 12 sets of an LED light with a junction box with push connectors inside them from what I've seen so far on videos. And the hope with these is that this LED slim light is taking up a lot more space for light in that 4-inch diameter than what our current pot lights have. And as well, I'm hoping that the light distribution or diffusion is much better than the flashlight equivalents that we currently have in our ceiling. So that's the hope, and hopefully when these are installed we'll have a better light distribution in the room and give us better results for photo taking and just general comfort of the light. So with all that said, I'm going to get to unboxing this now, and we'll see the contents of this package. So we'll get inside the box here now. We'll get this tape cut through. We'll find out exactly what's in the box. So first of all, this looks like could be a template. Alright, that looks to be a template for drilling your holes through your drywall and your ceiling. I have a user manual. Don't really need that. I kid, alright? You may want the user manual, but for me, I don't think we're going to need it. Next, looks to be 4 rows of 3 boxes here. Take one of these boxes out and have a look. Here's the plug for the actual recessed light. And then we have a junction box for your wiring. Alright, we got a multiple prong push adapters. One for the ground, one for your hot, and one for your neutral. So that's pretty straightforward. Okay, not too much to see there. And these boxes get mounted up inside your ceiling. So we'll have to see about how easy this is to mount up in the holes that we already have in the ceiling. And if needed, we may just put these up inside the ceiling hole. As long as they're connected, everything should be okay. So the next, these are the ceiling lights themselves. As you see, got a really nice size diameter of light. That should give us a definitely a good bright source of light. Hopefully this also distributes and diffuses the light appropriately so that it's not that glaring light that I currently have. And really, that's about it for the unboxing. 12 junction boxes. I should point out here on the junction box, here's your selector switch for your 3, 4, or 5000 K light. And as I get these installed, I'm probably going to go with the middle setting. Alright, it's a 3 indent switch. And I'll be just going for the middle one, as I've seen in one review that the middle one seems to be the best. They said the 5000, I believe it was way too bright, and the 3000 was kind of dim and dismal, almost like what we have here now. I'm sure it's still better quality than what we have right now. Either way, we're going to be going for 4000 K, middle of the road, and see where that brings us. Alright, so now that the unboxing is complete, it's really time to get to the install. But before I do, I'm just going to review real quick what tools I have on hand. I may have to add to this as we go, as I determine what else we got going on. But for the most part, the following tools is what I'm going to have on hand, and hopefully all we need for this project. First on the list, a pair of Klein electrician's pliers, snips, whatever you want to call them. Pretty much just your standard electrician's pliers. Next, I got a little container with some wire nuts or murrettes, whatever you want to call them. These guys call them wire connectors, but usually around here we call them murrettes, and I've also seen them called wire nuts. Electrical tape, pretty self-explanatory. I got my drill, impact hammer, and I just got a number 2 bit in there. Next, in case the joists are too far inside the pot light hole to get to easily, I have a longer number 2 driver. Alright. And finally, this was a Christmas gift from my wife. I'm finally going to get to put it to use, and this is an electrical test kit. So this should give you an indication if any of the wires that you're around are live. Still got to figure out how to use this, since obviously it's not open. I'm going to be opening this now as well, and we're going to figure out how this works and make sure that the wires I'm working on in the ceiling are not live. That's the purpose of this one. Add to all that, I got a little bit of extra cordage just in case we needed to make any pigtails or extend any lines, any of that good stuff. I just got a little bit extra wire, but I'm thinking that with our push connectors in those junction boxes on the pot lights, we should be able to get away without having to use any additional wire. But we don't know that for certain until we get up into the ceiling and see what's going on there. So that about concludes the tools that I'm going to be using, and we'll add to this list as we go if needed. Otherwise, this should get us a good start. Alright, so before we begin as well, just want to point out, screwdriver is another tool add into the bunch, and we're going to open up this power electrical test kit. Alright, so in this kit we got the plug tester for power. I guess you plug that in, and depending on the lights it'll tell you whether or not the plug is active. And then you have the detector pen or wand, whatever you want to call it, and we're just going to make sure there's some batteries in this, which there are not, but they are included in the back of the container. So I'm going to go ahead, get some batteries put in this. We'll come back and we'll see if this is as useful to us as I think it will be. We'll see. Alright, so now that we got the lights opened up, we got all our tools that we think we're going to need anyways. Next on the list is to get started. So one thing I've done, I've turned off the light switch. Now you can also turn off your breaker. That's probably the most ideal way to do this. But as long as your light switch is off to the pot lights, the hot line should be cut off. Alright, so you shouldn't worry about getting electrocuted, but you know what? I am not a licensed electrician. Alright, so whether or not the neutral carries any current that could harm you or anything like that, that's not for me to know. I just know that I have worked on ceiling light fixtures in the past, and just by turning off the light switch to it, that was enough. The reason I wanted the voltage detector, the electrical test kit, is because the light switches that I have in most of our light fixtures here, are the wireless smart dimmable ones. I got them at Costco, but basically we're able to control our lights using our Google Home and our phones, right, to wirelessly control our lights. So I don't know if the hard disconnect on the bottom is equivalent to your old-fashioned light switch being turned off. So just that extra level of protection, I'm going to be taking the lights down, and then I'll use my voltage detector to see if there is any voltage coming into that light despite knowing that there's not, you know. Obviously the lights are off, there's no voltage going to them, but we're going to be safe than sorry. Alright, again, not a licensed electrician, don't know all the ins and outs. I just know that by turning off the light switch, typically you should be safe unless there's some kind of a short somewhere, and that's where you could get yourself in trouble. So I don't have any fancy ladders or anything brought in the house with me. I'm just going to be using this coffee table as my platform for work. And with all that said, it's just well to get started, see what we're getting into. Alright, so here's our current pot lights, one of them. And I'm going to begin just by pulling down on the light bulb assembly. Up inside there are screwed in, I want to say legs, but anyways, they come out and they rest on top of the gyprock and then tighten down against the gyprock to prevent movement. So there's a couple of screws that I'm going to be loosening, and by a couple I actually mean just two. Alright, so I'll get the proper bit on here and we'll get started. So right now I'm supporting the light with my hand here as well while I'm loosening the screws. Try not to get anything fall down inside my face. So a little more loosening and I should have this one able to come down, and we'll see what we're into. And there we are. This is the pot light housing with our cable going into a junction box. And now I'm going to take the electrical test meter, turn it on. Okay, so nothing triggering as far as any kind of current. Alright, and from there we're going to take apart this junction box, probably salvage this little protector. I'll try to get you a closer look at that shortly. We're going to salvage a piece off this and proceed to disassembly. Okay, similar setup inside this junction box with the push connectors. No current showing anywhere in there. Oh. A little flash of red. So the neutral is showing to have a little bit of current in it. So I probably will proceed to turning off the breaker just to protect myself. I'm not overly concerned, but I am going to take safety to the next level and go find out which breaker it is. So give me a little bit. I'm going to have to figure out which breaker it is, get that off, and be right back. Alright, so now that we've verified everything is safe, we're going to disconnect the old pot light. Now these push connectors, usually you can give them a twist and the wires will come apart. So let's see if we can pull that off. Now obviously no light going to the bulb, everything should be safe. I'm just going to twist these and it just comes right out. Alright, without twisting, these should be safe enough. Alright, so now we got our neutral and our hot. Now we still have to get the ground out. There we are. Now there is a little retainer gray piece here holding the wires into the junction box. I'm going to get my pliers to compress that and hopefully remove everything altogether. And there we are, pot light removed, wiring left behind, as well as our gray little connector, which we are going to reuse on our junction box of the new pot lights. Alright, so as you see here, we got the little gray protector that goes into the junction box. So here's our new junction box here. We have a little removable plate. I'm going to get a flathead and pry that out of its position. Right, like so. Just gonna pop that in. Give it a little twist and pull. There we are. So we'll open up the junction box to expose our wiring. So we get the new wires connected up with the ceiling here after we put the gray piece in through this opening. Alright, so let's get these fed in. There we are. Okay. And now we'll take our push connectors, connect our hot, connect our neutral, and connect our ground. There we are. That is connected as fast as that. Push all this back inside the box. Just like so. Close the lid on that. And there we are. We'll get this put back up inside the ceiling, ready to accept our pot light. Alright, so next stage is our light itself. Just has a simple plug, goes in here. Okay, this There's a push plug, and then it has a screw-on securing ring. Screws on like so. Just selected the 4000K. Now just get all this pushed back up in here. Now this light has a spring on either side, which I'm going to bend up into the hole. Alright, like so. And this one, bend up in there as well. And there we are. Take off the film. And there we have it. That is our first one installed. I think we need to test it before we carry on. So let's test. With power restored, now it's time to turn on the light switch and see if it works. All right, success. Or is it? Let's find out now if the light quality from that is different from the current pot lights. All right, so we have one pot light swapped out. So now we're going to look at the differences, okay? So I'll start with the original that we just took out. All right, so I still got one right here. I'm going to step under that. We'll see what that looks like. All right, ugly, yellow, focused, blinding light. All right, now I'll step over under the new pot light. All right, you can definitely tell like a whitening of my skin, definite brightening, but not this ugly yellow. And I can look up into this without squinting. I get that kind of flash bulb effect when I look away from it, but when I'm looking up into it, it doesn't have that feeling of a flashlight shining straight in my eyes. So far so good. Not sure if I'm getting, you know, the angles of videography here just right to show you guys everything. You know, this is kind of a how-to, but it's more of a, if you're having this problem, try this. All right, that's kind of the point of this video, because that's what I'm doing. All right, we had that problem with the previous pot lights. I'm trying this to hopefully avoid a bigger expense and a bigger job. So yeah, with all that said, I'm going to set you guys up, and I'm going to do the other 5 pot lights in here. And at the end of it, you should hopefully see a difference. All right, here I go. Wish me luck. Alright everybody, so that concludes the install part of the pot lights. So now it's time to test them. You know, those last two boxes, they were a bit tricky. We had 3 wires going into the junction boxes there. And those were done with morettes. So I undid the morettes, put it into the push connectors, and hopefully everything worked out okay. Again, this is not a how-to. Alright, as much as I'd like to name this a how-to, it's more, like I said before, it's just what I'm doing to try and remedy my issues and save money. And hopefully by doing this, it's going to do the same thing for you. So with all that said, I'm going to turn on the lights and we'll see the difference. There we go. Lights coming up. Look at that. Look at that. Alright, no harsh light. Everything's well lit. No issues. I'm happy. One more test. I'm going to dim them down, see how they perform with dimming. Very nice. Very, very nice. Alright, so needless to say, I think we could get a good picture here now. Alright, I'm directly under a light here now. It's not really giving me too much of that flashlight effect. You know, the shiny head persists anyways, but not to the degree that the old ones were at. So anyways, I think this is a great success. I highly recommend these lights based on the results that I'm getting right at this moment. And wow, I think we just saved ourselves a lot of construction and money by switching to these new lights. So you know, advancing technology, it's a good thing, solves problems. So hopefully my wife will be quite pleased with this when she gets home from work as well. I've had my little man here this whole time. He's been really good and quiet in the background, just doing his thing, and let me work away and make this video for you guys. So I think that's going to be it. I'm going to go and do the dining room, I think, myself. I'm going to cool down a little bit. I'm a little bit sweaty there now. But I think I'll proceed and I'll just do the dining room pot lights off camera. I think this is enough for everybody to see the gist of the idea and how it's done. Definitely not a hard project. And I do have to be honest with you guys and let one cat out of the bag. I never did turn off the breaker to the lights. Even though the electrical detector was detecting on the neutral wire, it wasn't a problem. Alright, I turned the power on to the hots, ran the electrical tester over it. It gave a much more significant warning than that single beep coming off of the neutral. And what I did, I got rubber bottom sneakers on, so that grounded me, or prevented me being grounded, we'll say. And, what do you say, rubber grip tools, all that stuff. But I think overall, with the light switch off, as long as there's no short circuits or anything, and the breakers would protect you against that, I think overall, just turning off the light switch is safe, but you never heard it from me. Alright, and don't take my word for any of this. I am not an electrician. Alright, is that enough disclaimers? I think it is. I think that's enough. Alright. So anyways, for those of you still sticking around here, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, hit that notification bell, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment below if this ends up helping you in some way, or any comment you would like to leave, I'll read and I usually respond if the video has been posted within the near future of your comment being added. Yeah, I think that's it. Alright, I'm happy. I don't think any chandelier is required here. I think if you're having the same issues, do what I did. I think you'll be happy. So until next video, hope you're happy, hope you're healthy, take care of each other, and peace out.